It wasn't until I returned to the dormitory and lay on my bed that I gradually regained my senses and realized what had happened. Merlin was in love with a man? He said he wanted to become the one on top? Was I going crazy? Or was he? I couldn't sleep because of my worries. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Suddenly, I felt the bed shake underneath me. I turned my head and saw a figure climbing onto my bed in the darkness. I was scared out of my wits. I accidentally spilled water on my bed. Can I sleep here tonight? Merlin lowered his voice and said, Go sleep with Travis or Samson. I hurriedly refused. Merlin ignored my words and climbed onto the bed, lying down beside me. Your bed smells nice. I like sleeping with you. Merlin leaned in and sniffed my pillow, like a pervert. My heart raced, and I wrapped myself tightly in the blanket, afraid that he might notice something. As I watched that my identity was about to be exposed, I took a deep breath and could only apologize to the female lead. Merlin. The candle at dinner and the ring at night were actually prepared by Effie. She wanted to confess her feelings to you, but you misunderstood. I mustered up the courage to speak. In the dim light, I vaguely saw a stunned expression on his face, but it quickly disappeared as his eyebrows raised slightly. So what? He reached out and grabbed the back of my neck, his lips brushing against my ear. You peeped at me, took pictures of me, and hid my personal clothing. Your photo album is filled with my pictures, revealing your secret crush on me. You've driven me crazy, what else do you want? Baby, my temper isn't as good as you think. I was scared and got goosebumps all over my body. Help! The news of Merlin and I being together quickly spread, causing a sensation. How could his many admirers just stand by and watch as I defiled their idol? And I couldn't just watch as the plot went astray. I had to straighten things out. After watching a movie with Merlin and returning to school at night, I noticed that the group of people was following me again. They had been tailing me for several days, but Merlin was always sticking by my side, so they couldn't find an opportunity to make a move. They were so useless. It seemed like I had to help them out. Merlin, I'm thirsty. Can you go buy me a cup of milk tea? I deliberately smiled at him and softened my voice, trying to act cute. His eyes flickered, and disregarding the gazes of the people around us, he leaned in and kissed the corner of my lips. Of course, baby, wait for me. The smile on my face froze, okay. As I watched Merlin's figure disappear, I couldn't help but feel that he had become a bit scary since we started dating. Could it be that he lost his mind after falling in love with a man? Just as I lost sight of Merlin's figure, a group of people rushed out of the alley. I looked up and counted. 1, 2, 3, 10 people. They really thought highly of me. I advise you to break up with Merlin immediately, or we'll kill you. The leader's voice was filled with malicious intent as he warned. I felt a little frightened as I looked at these people. Suddenly, I regretted using this fake injury tactic. Although it could be used as an excuse to break up with Merlin, I was really afraid of pain, and the cost was too high. I could only silently encourage myself in my heart. Only through hardships can one become superior. After taking this beating, I would break up with him tomorrow. The 10 people charged towards me, and I took out the self-defense spray from my pocket and sprayed wildly, but there were too many people, and I couldn't spray them all. The remaining person held a stick and viciously hit me. How dare you seduce Merlin? I'll break your legs. I ran as fast as I could, but they caught up to me. I was hit on the arm, and the pain made me break out in a cold sweat. Then I was hit on the calf, causing me to stumble and fall to the ground. I had sacrificed too much just to go home. My life was so bitter. I feel like I'm the most unfortunate person in the world. But in the next moment, I saw Merlin rushing towards me with a shocked and angry expression. I saw the dagger that was supposed to pierce into my body, piercing into his instead. Blood gushed out, staining the silver blade red. I realized that Merlin's fate was even more unfortunate than mine. He, a strong and resolute man, was bent by me, and he even took a knife for me, shedding so much blood. He was a heterosexual, but he changed his sexual preference for me. He even blocked the knife for me and shed so much blood. The key is that he doesn't know that he is a character in the novel, and his fate has been determined. But my silent heart couldn't help but beat wildly for him. It seems like I'm about to become one of the many admirers of the male lead. Merlin was injured in the waist and abdomen, and was admitted to the hospital. I felt touched and guilty, so I volunteered to stay in the hospital to take care of him. I stayed by his side and carefully took care of him. I treasure this time that belongs only to the two of us, feeling sweet in my heart, tasting the wonderful taste of love. However, there was a small worry in the sweetness. After he fell asleep at night, I sneaked out of bed and went to the bathroom to loosen the binding cloth on my chest. Now I'm too close to him. To avoid being exposed, I could only loosen it after he fell asleep. I untied the binding cloth and prepared to go back to sleep. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Merlin standing in the darkness, staring at me suspiciously. "What are you holding in your hand?" His gaze fell on my hand. My heart suddenly leaped into my throat. "It's nothing, just a towel." I tried my best to remain calm. He walked over and reached out to take a look. Instinctively, I resisted and didn't want him to take it. "You don't want me to see it? Is there something hidden inside?" His tone became heavy. "No." I immediately deny it and try to explain. "This is my personal item. I'm just not used to letting others see it. We are already together. I'm not someone else, and you've also seen my personal items before. Didn't I blame you for it?" Merlin skillfully persuaded. I couldn't argue with him, so I could only let him take the binding cloth from my hand. He unfolded the cloth, and a rare look of confusion appeared on his face. "This is a towel?" He smelled it, and I blushed with embarrassment, wishing I could find a hole to hide in. "It's specially made at home." I made up a lie nervously. Merlin stared at me, nodded thoughtfully, and seemed to believe my words. "Okay." The next morning, I woke up and got out of bed. Merlin was already awake, sitting on the other side of the bed, looking at me. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but his gaze seemed to linger on my butt for a few seconds. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Is he starting to have thoughts about my back door? "Are you hurt?" Merlin frowned. "Huh? No, I'm not." I couldn't figure it out. "Then why are you bleeding?" Merlin got up and came over, reaching out to check my pants. "I can do it myself." I quickly pushed him away and rushed into the bathroom, locking the door. After checking, I found out that it was just my period. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. What excuse should I come up with later? If I say I accidentally cut my butt with a knife, would he believe it? I sat on the toilet, doubting life, when suddenly I heard Merlin leaving the room. I felt relieved, and as soon as it was quiet outside, I hurried back to the room and took out a clean pair of pants from my backpack. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any sanitary pads with me because I was worried that Merlin would discover the truth. Who could have imagined that my period would come so many days early this time? I gritted my teeth and tied a piece of clothing around my waist, preparing to go downstairs to buy something. Just as I reached the elevator, Merlin came out from inside. "Where are you going?" Merlin's gaze fell on my waist. "To buy something." I lowered my head slightly, feeling a bit uncomfortable. "I've already bought it." Merlin took my hand and led me back to the hospital room. What did he buy? It wasn't until he took out the things from the bag, several colorful sanitary pads and a bag of ginger tea with brown sugar, that I cracked. He knew. He knew I was a girl. I felt so guilty that I could hardly look at his expression, afraid that he would snap and strangle me. I couldn't face the current situation, so I hid in my shell and never mentioned the fact that I was disguised as a man. And strangely enough, Merlin didn't question me either. We continued to interact as before, as if nothing had happened. But I couldn't help but feel guilty, with a heart hanging in the air, thinking that if he didn't explode now, there must be something even more terrifying waiting for me in the future. However, before Merlin's explosion came, I received news of my identity being exposed. Someone anonymously posted on the campus forum, detailing all my evil deeds, disguising as a man to enter the male dormitory, secretly seducing Merlin, deceiving his feelings, and causing him to get injured by a knife. The post went viral, even becoming a social news and attracting widespread attention from the media. Under pressure, the school had to take it seriously and expelled me. The plot once again got back on track in a way I didn't expect. But this time, I wasn't as happy. Thinking back to the previous times when the plot was accidentally corrected, I vaguely understood that maybe the plot wouldn't deviate at all. There was a force that would correct everything and pull me back to the original track as a cannon fodder supporting character. Would Merlin's liking for me also be corrected? Thinking about this, I felt a heavy discomfort in my heart. It seemed that I liked Merlin more than I thought. I yearned day and night to finish the plot and leave this world. But now, I suddenly couldn't bear to leave. I couldn't bear to part with Merlin. I quickly received the notice of expulsion from the school. Next, it was the plot of me being expelled from school and dying on the streets. I knew that no matter how reluctant I was, I would eventually reach that point. The supporting female character is just a supporting character, and it's impossible for her to be happy with the male lead. I thought to myself, since I'm going to die, I shouldn't involve Merlin anymore. Let's break up. I proposed to Merlin. You saw the post. I am a girl who intentionally infiltrated the male dormitory, deceived your feelings, and caused you harm. All these things are indeed done by me. Deceived my feelings? Was your liking for me all fake? I didn't know how to answer him for a moment. The cannon fodder supporting female character likes him, and I also like him. I disguised myself as a man to get close to you because of Swain Lloyd. I changed the topic. Now that my plan is successful, he will come to pick me up and leave. Swain Lloyd is the male lead's archenemy, who has always been unable to tolerate the male lead and came up with this plan to play a joke on him. The cannon fodder supporting female character is his cousin and actively proposed to help Swain Lloyd get back at the male lead. In fact, she only secretly loves the male lead and wants to get close to him during this time. In the original plot, Swain's plan failed, and the male lead did not fall in love with the supporting female character. In the end, he discovered the truth and ruthlessly retaliated against the supporting female character and Swain. Do you like Swain Lloyd? Merlin asked again. I will leave with him. I replied. On the day I dropped out of school, Swain called and said he would come to school to pick me up. He specifically came to my dormitory, saying that he wanted to help me pack up, but he actually wanted to show off in front of Merlin. Kathy, be careful to pack everything properly, don't leave anything behind. It wouldn't be good if some pervert picks it up. Swain said sarcastically. I've heard that all homosexuals are a bit mentally deranged. I'm sorry for these days, enduring living with a pervert that disgusts you. When Travis and Samson, who were in the same dormitory, heard this, they couldn't help but glared angrily at Swain. Watch your words, this is not your territory. Merlin sat on his bed, bowing his head and seemed to be playing a game, never looking up at me. I silently packed my things, dare not look at him, dare not speak, afraid of revealing my sad and depressed emotions. Until I finished packing and went downstairs, Merlin still had no reaction. My heart was twisted, and as I looked up at the building from downstairs, I realized that I would never see him again. But I saw Merlin standing on the balcony, our eyes met, and I vaguely saw a deep and dangerous whirlpool in his eyes, as if it could crush a person. I was startled, opened my mouth, and didn't know if he could hear me. Goodbye. I saw him suddenly smile. He moved his lips, silently said something to me. I couldn't hear it, anxious in my heart, and shouted loudly at him. What did you say? But Merlin turned and left, leaving only his back. What did you say? I was anxious and flustered, subconsciously lifted my foot to chase after him. But Swain held me back. All right, it doesn't matter what he said or did. This time you've done a great favor for me, I'll remember it. He seemed to say a lot to me, but in my mind, there was only the image of Merlin speaking to me, repeatedly guessing what he said. What he said to me, I will never be able to hear it.